great. I see some familiar faces and new faces. Thank you so much for having us back. I've done this 3 years in a row. Rollin is joining me the second year, and the first year I did more of a, I call it painting with music, where I picked different short pieces and I explained to people how to listen to them, and they tend to be more known, like the Swan or Meditation from Thais, Ave Maria, things like that. And then the second year we got a little bold and we played a Chopin cello sonata, which is a big concert, and Chopin Polonaise. Yeah, it was an all Chopin concert. And this year we're going to go a little bit lighter again, and very fittingly, Pete started it off with a song because we're going to be playing a whole set of arias for you all. And it's not going to need as much explanation because I think a lot of you are familiar with the operas, or the songs are famous. I will give, for certain ones, I'll give a little bit more of an explanation so you know what's going on. But the first one that we would like to play for you is the very famous Nessun Dorma from Turandot, and written by Puccini. And this piece is basically, I'm just going to try to keep it short because just a little snippet, not all the details, but basically a princess is, how do I make this short? Basically, at this point of the play, the tides have been turned, and where a prince, or I guess the princess has to guess the name of the prince, because he's incognito. And nobody knows that he's the prince, so she's going around and she sent all of her servants and everybody to find out what's the name of this guy, because she does not want to marry him. And right now, Nessun Dorma means nobody sleeps. So he's walking the streets waiting for the sun to rise, singing how nobody can sleep to find my name, but no one's going to find out, and in the end he will end up marrying her, so. second piece will play O mio bambino caro from the opera Gianni Schicchi, and that's also a piece by Puccini. And again, long story short, is Gianni Schicchi is a man dies, and the whole family is in cahoots to try to change the will, basically. And the girl, the daughter of Gianni Schicchi, who they're poor, she's in love with the son of the man, I think the uncle or something, the nephew of the man who dies. And true opera fashion is complicated. And he does not want to go. Gianni Schicchi doesn't want to have anything to do with this. And she says, Father, please, can you pretend that you're the man on his deathbed, dress up as him, change the will so that the son will inherit money and then will be, what's that?
Happy.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. Well, and then they'll be okay with him marrying a poor girl because he has money. And so this is her pleading her fathers, please, do this for me. Not from an opera, and it was made famous by, not who's my king, Bocelli, yes, Bocelli. So it's just so well loved by everyone that I think that we couldn't resist to play this for you all as well. So. this next one is probably one of my favorites. Although the opera's not very famous, Lakme. Has anybody seen this opera before? Yeah, okay. Is the rest of the opera very beautiful, or is it, I feel like it's like the one...
It's lovely.
It is, okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the whole opera, but I do know that this is the flower duet, and in this there's a princess who, I'm trying to think where it takes place. Do you remember where it takes place? It's one of these exotic... Yeah, it's one of those more exotic countries, and it's a princess that goes down to the river with her maid, and she's going to pick flowers, and they start singing this duet about the birds singing and all these other things, and of course an English soldier comes, and that's the whole plot begins with that, but that's a different story here. So this is a very beautiful duet from Delibes, Lakme, Delibes. Also, it doesn't need quite an introduction, really, because from the very famous habanera from Bizet, or Bizet's Carmen. So, in this scene, Carmen is a peasant woman, and all the soldiers have come down to the square, and she's just basically explaining that, I guess she doesn't need men, or she's a strong woman, and but she's absolutely lovely, and everyone's falling in love with her. So this is kind of like a taunting song of hers.
She says, love is like a resisting bird. Is the first line. She says, resisting bird.
love is a resisting bird. This next aria is from Donizzetti's L'Esir d'Amor. It's called Una fortima lagrima. And so it's about a man who falls in love with a woman who doesn't know that he exists, basically. Doesn't really care about him, and he really wants her to fall in love with him, and he finds a love potion or something. He gets a love potion, and basically something like he thinks that she drank it and that she saw him and that she's in love with him now, and she's sitting and crying, and because he thinks that because she's in love with him.
Yeah, he sees this tear in her eye, and he goes off into an entire fantasy that she finally loves him.
In the meantime, it has nothing to do.
A secret tear, a furtive tear.
Yeah, so he's just, it's incredibly passionate, but at the same time, there's this, this tension that you feel, and it's still hopeful at the end of the day, but it's an opera, so it doesn't end like that.
Meanwhile, it's like one of the most beautiful arias that they've ever written, so it's just opera,
a lot of fun to play because it's about a mad queen. And you can just let yourself go on this one. So this is from Mozart's The Magic Flute, Queen of the Night. It's funny because I'm sure by this point everybody has heard Florence Nightingale's, is that her name, Florence?
Yes.
Nightingale, right, her version of it, which was really, when I first got this, I was like, oh no, we can't play this because of her version, but of course, you listen to a very well-trained singer, and it's absolutely amazing that the talent that one needs for this one, and then there's another one coming up, of just these really fast notes and this super high pitches, and a queen is enraged at, is it a king from another, I think it's a king from a different, like, what's that? There we go, different kingdom, there we go. And she's just absolutely livid about him, and you can hear it through these like repetitive notes over and over and over again. And she's super frantic, and she basically tells her daughter, here, you need to take this knife and you need to go kill him because I'm incredibly angry at him. So, Queen of the Night. Yeah. Music is always is a reflection of emotion and words, but it's really neat when you come across a piece like this, and you almost don't need to have words or even kind of know the story to be able to really get a feeling of this, like, forte to piano and schizophrenia, repeating the note. You just imagine she's like, ha 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 ha. Imagine he's like, oh wait, I know you know they're playing. Like just like whispering and then bursting out and stuff. And so it's just so fun to see how powerful music is in moments like these that really come out. And Mozart is just an absolute master at it. So, okay, this next piece, when we were first going through over this music, and it was me by myself playing through it, and I kind of played through this piece, and I was like, oh, I don't know, it's Vivaldi, it's Giustino, I'm not familiar with the opera, I don't know if I really want to play it, but then we sat down and played it together with the piano part. Again, why it's so important to have both parts before you make any judgments. I think these are two of my favorite pieces that we're playing tonight. They're so incredibly emotive, and Vivaldi comes from a Baroque era, and I think Baroque, unfortunately, gets this bad rap of just being unexpressive and not romantic and kind of flatlined. I think a big part of the reason for that is because when the music that we got, there's tends to be nothing written in there in terms of dynamics, crescendos, any of that. That's just all you see is notes, and so people kind of think they end up playing it that way. And then I studied with a woman who was in her 80s, and I ended up doing my thesis on Baroque cello music just because after she started working with me and explaining how to approach the music, I was just like, oh my gosh, this music is absolutely amazing. And you can really feel that in this opera where it's, Baroque didn't use a lot of vibrato, but vibrato is kind of like a shimmer, or it's a technique that's supposed to add something to something that's already really beautiful. And so I don't use a lot of vibrato on this, but it's almost not needed. It almost takes away from this pure sound that Vivaldi has here. And this one, Vedrò con mio diletto. What did you say it was interpretation of this was? What's the title?
Well, but it means I will be. It means literally I will see my beloved. But he repeats this line throughout it, and it's really the joy and thrill of him getting to see his beloved, who, as the next line says, is the soul of my soul. So it's actually an incredibly impassioned aria.
Yeah. And you'll often find things repeating themselves multiple times, and the half step that, I don't know if you're familiar with Dido's Lament. It's this beautiful, I think it's from an opera, but it's basically the bass is just going down by half step, half step, half step, and just brings you this incredible feeling of, like, in this one, Dido's Lament, I mean, it's very tragic, but in here, these repetitions going down by, a step or so, it's just this feeling of like, it's more of this hopefulness of this joy that he has, but yeah. So yeah, if you enjoy it. Oh wait, sorry, before you start, I'm so sorry, I just took completely. Another thing too is very often Baroque music, you'll have something played the first time, and then the second time it repeats, there is, it usually gave the performer an opportunity to show off his skills, because musicians back then were also composers, and so that was their chance to add little trills and frills and extra notes and stuff like that. So you'll hear, the introduction is the piano for 6 measures, and then I play my whole thing, and then when you hear the piano on its own again for a period of time, 6 measures. Then we repeat the same thing, and then this time, I'd like to say that I am improvising and not, they have it written out for me, but you'll hear the same, and then just how interesting it is to add these little extra notes. right, we're coming to the end of our arias, but not to fear because the next piece fits in line still in the sense of sounding very much like a song. So this one is from the opera Griselda, also by Vivaldi, and Agitata da due venti, and it's a woman that talks about being caught between two winds of her, I guess, beloved and lover. So it's very agitated, and I listened to a recording. What's that?
A real problem.
Yeah, a real problem. I heard a recording of Kathleen Battle, was it, singing it, and I mean, you'll see I'm playing 16th notes very quickly, and it's absolutely amazing if you can just look her up on YouTube, the skill that she has of being able to repeat these notes over and over and over again, and absolutely fascinating. Because that's what, we were talking about how we did a lot, you have to do a lot of research when you're getting ready for a concert, and you're listening to recordings and singers, and how are they doing it, and how can I sound like a singer, and I was just absolutely amazed at her precision and clarity and everything. I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I need to emulate there. So, yes, this is a very exciting agitata, the due venti. probably typical for, I would think for many musicians, that when someone approaches you and says, can you put on a concert for us, and not asking for anything like super specific, they're going to try to sneak in a sonata. It's just so fun to play sonatas together, and you don't get a chance to do it very often, because it really requires a pianist of a certain skill, and who is really willing to put all that. I mean, as you can tell already, the piano has a lot more notes than I do. So we had played the Chopin together, and then we decided that we would love to try to put together a piece by Cesar Franck, who was a French composer during the Romantic era, yeah. And we found that this piece would fit well because there's something very vocal about it and lilting the melody. Has anyone heard the Franck sonata? It's actually a violin sonata. Okay, yeah. It was originally a violin sonata, and a cellist had commissioned Franck to compose a piece for cello, and he kind of got burnt out, and ended up just taking the violin concerto or sonata and transposing it for cello, rewriting it for cello, and so that's why we have it in our repertoire as well. But he had originally written it for Eugene Isai, who was a violinist for his wedding day, as a gift on his wedding day. So it's just, to me it almost feels even a bit, what's the word, impressionistic. There's almost these chords that the piano plays in the beginning, and they just kind of hang, and impressionism was more about giving you an impression than telling you exactly. And I feel like this piece, the beginning, has so much of that, just this kind of ethereal feeling, impression, and you'll hear the main theme that the cello plays comes back over and over again in different ways. He kind of reworks it and plays around with it. And is there anything you have to add to the first movement? Any thoughts?
No, that's very much what it is, and it really, it develops and everything, but it really floats like that. It has that feeling actually all the way through to the very end, which leads right into this rip-roaring second movement, actually.
Yeah.
The complete contrast of it grown out of that.
Yeah, and it works well to only have two movements, because at the end of the second movement, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is it. We don't need any more.
It could be the end.
It could be the end. And then the third movement comes in again, and just, every one of those movements. So we're going to be working on the other two movements, and then be able to, hopefully, in the fall, perform the whole sonata. But, so this is Cesar Franck's Sonata for cello.